I want to introduce Rachel Leventhal. She's a colleague and friend of mine. We've worked extensively together at Grace Hopper, which is a big women in tech conference that happens in the US and in India, mostly through the Grace Hopper Open Source Hack Day. And Rachel runs an amazing organization called Women's Peer-to-Peer Network, which she will tell you more about. Give it up for Rachel Leventhal.
Hi, yes, so I'm Rachel Leventhal. I'm the founder and executive director of an organization I started called Women's Peer-to-Peer Network. And I just want to say first, I've been talking with Larissa and with the TechWomen program for over a year about ways to maybe involve you in what you're doing, because I'm just such a fan of the program and of you all, the women who come. And so I just want to tell you how honored I feel to be here, and thank you very much for your patience over this long evening, for listening to me. And there'll be time for questions after I'm finished talking, so you don't have to sit here any longer than necessary. So the Women's Peer-to-Peer Network is building a global community of technical and grassroots women building by women, for women communication tools to connect every woman on Earth. That's our big goal. And that includes the nearly 1 billion women being left behind because of barriers like literacy, access, privacy concerns that we're all familiar with. But the fact is that the people building tools for women have not been so familiar with those barriers. Very often the people who build tools for development are men. The women who they're being built for are not included in the conversation. And they're certainly not being included as equals, but rather being kind of thought of and referred to as objects of development. And so I wanted to talk with you a little bit about how we do it. And I want to tell you about an upcoming project, and then maybe some of you might even be interested in participating in various ways, even if that's just to share what we're doing with your communities at home. So the way we work is using open source tools, leveraging the technologies that women already have and use, such as community radio, basic phones. We're creating IVR interfaces for phones, things like that. So we're not about delivering computers to people or training women or in complicated tools. We're really about using the networks women already have, like the markets, like their interactions with the radio, like whatever systems they have in their local communities, and building interfaces that allow us all to talk to each other and also to further their own goals. And some of the goals that are particularly important to us, because there's a universal importance to them as well, are things like supporting market women working in the informal sector, who also, they drive economies but also drive peace and security around the world, who are most often just completely left out of our conversations. Other things that we are working on addressing are getting women into public office, which is a common issue in every country on Earth. And women face almost identical issues, even if they face them a little bit differently. And the third thing that we really want to tackle upfront is violence against women. And let me just ask you, how many of you feel concerned about violence against women in your own countries? I know I do. And one thing that I want to say initially is that this is something that is experienced very differently in different countries. And so when I talk about bringing women together and a kind of universal experience that women have, it's not that I want to tell you that we all have the same experience. I want to be very clear about that. But what I have learned is that we have enough in common around these experiences to be able to meet each other's with empathy as equals for support and partnership. And that's really what we're talking about, not that all of our experiences are the same. So our pilot projects right now are in Haiti. We had a project around the election in Kenya, and we're about to start another project that I'll talk with you now. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more, we do have a TED Talk on our website and stuff like that. So and you can contact me to learn about that in more detail. And the last thing that I want to sort of tell you to help you understand what we're doing is just a little bit about how I got here. My background is as a documentary journalist, a human rights journalist, and working with kind of long-form stories with women and girls around the world. And in 2005, I was in Liberia covering the election. And I'd read reports, I sort of thought I knew what to expect, but over time, the time that I spent with these women, what I saw happen before my eyes was how these women mobilized to make history. And it wasn't some NGO that came in and taught women about democracy. It wasn't outsiders who came in and did anything. It was groups of women who started networking with each other across borders in refugee camps during the wars, and created a movement and stopped the wars and band together to make history and elect Africa's first woman president. And what was, and what was so amazing about that to me was, well, one, it's something we have not been able to do here, so ta-da. But it was because, and this was what I heard when I asked women, how'd you do this? And what they said was that when they got together across borders in refugee camps during the war, you had different groups of women who'd never really had a lot of contact with each other. You had market women and lawyers and activists and mothers all hanging out, selling things, making food, doing just regular daily chores in a very open environment. And they did what women have been doing for thousands of years. They started sharing ideas and networking and talking. And before you knew it, they'd launched a cross-border movement throughout the Mano River region. And that is the first social network, is women coming together and talking. And when I marveled about how amazing I thought that was, one thing that a woman said to me was, yeah, it really was, and I hope next time it's just a little bit easier. And so from that, I got an idea that what I really wanted to do next was create tools that across borders, exactly the same way, could begin bringing women together that normally would not have contact with each other, to explore their commonality, to create a community, and build tools and ultimately create other forms of support out of that. And we would come to the table as equals with an equal voice, no matter where we came from, whether or not we could read, or what our language was. So that's the goal. And so we're not an aid agency, we're really about bringing women together and seeing if we can do this the way women have done everything successful and moved history forward for thousands of years. So the next project that we want to start on are called Global Women's Meetups. And the first one we want to have around an issue that's very important to all of us is violence against women. And just based on connections that we have and also what's happening right now historically, what we thought we would do is have our first meetup take place between groups of women in the United States and in English-speaking countries and in developed countries. Also in Nigeria, where we hope to find a women's hackerspace or some version of that, and have a conversation with women who have been affected by the violence, especially mothers of the girls who were kidnapped 6 months ago this week, and the world has still not found them. And so the conversation isn't really just about Nigeria. It's about tools and ideas and sharing experience and stories. And so in order to do that, we have to do a conversation a little bit differently. And this is where I start to want your help. This is a photo I pulled off the internet because I couldn't find what I was looking for. But basic conversations happen in very linear ways, whether you're using computers or text or phones. They're still happening in one language, more or less in real time. And they require a certain kind of connectivity or face-to-face experience. So to have a conversation with women in a rural area where privacy issues and safety issues are concerned, you have to do it differently. And this is a challenge. And it's a little messy. And part of the story we're telling is that it's messy. We're going to do it because it's important. And we're going to challenge ourselves and companies and organizations that bring people together to connect to make it better. But what we can do now, the best we can do now to bring women together, is to have an asynchronous conversation that happens over a few days. And so what we're imagining, and this can change as we continue to develop it, but what we're imagining is a couple live spaces, an internet space, and also an interface where women can connect through a local radio station, also using SMS. And in many countries, interacting live with the radio via SMS is very common. And so we're imagining some of it being pre-recorded. so that women can post their stories, post needs. We're going to have a place where projects can be listed and kind of evaluated even by local women who will explain why they hate it, why it won't work in their community. And that will help us know what we can build. And so it's an iterative process. We're imagining leaving messages of support that are read, that are translated by hand, because machine translation isn't what we think it is. So hand-translated messages that are read over the radio locally. And we're also imagining an opportunity for women in Nigeria to leave messages of support using a voice system to other women who are participating. And we're imagining an online experience. So we're imagining different user interfaces and an interactive experience no matter what tools you use. That's the goal. And we have we're working on it. We have partners in Africa who are already doing this with other types of things like violence warning systems in Nigeria that we're going to piggyback with. What's really important is that this is something that we do together. And so I can tell you about we can talk about the long-term vision later. But what I really want is to engage you in helping me understand how this could happen in the place that you live. That's one thing. And also, if you're interested in participating, if anyone is interested in helping to organize or helping to actually build some of the tools that we're using. So I did create a Google form that could make it easy, or you could just come up to me afterwards. But there's no commitment. I'm not going to hound you. But this is a wonderful opportunity for us to build a community around this issue, whether it's a conversation or whether you actually are just really keen on it and want to collaborate with women around the world on doing something that has never been done before, because people have told us that it can't be done. So that's the summary. And long term, what we want to do is have follow-up hackathons, and then we can imagine small sister communities that actually collaborate with each other across borders and with very specific groups of women, and have kind of an iterative, ongoing process through universities and also women in tech groups. That sort of thing. And we hope that this will also be a supportive community for technical women to collaborate with each other and support each other. So that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll just put my contact info back up there.
Questions for Rachel? Yeah. Oh, Lexi has a mic. She'll hand her on. Thank you. And we'll have a way to sign up right after this.
Yeah, so you can use my laptop, or if you just want to put your name in the form, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Salwa. I'm from Gaza Strip, Palestine. You are talking about something really touched my heart. Nigeria women, how they use the internet and media to spread their stories and the voice. It's the same happened with us in the last war. The victims was women and children. So the media, it's a very important issue to just spread your story. I'm a civil engineer. I'm not related to the computer engineer or something, but I hope really to know something about how really I can use this media or this internet or the issues that you are talking about to spread my case or my rights against the war, spread that we really need just to live in peace and protect our women, our children also. So I think that 3 of my friends from Palestine, they are computer engineers. So the questions for you, just to tell him how they can really do that for us to send the message.
Well, the vision, if I understand your question, the vision is that ultimately the community and the meetups will be self-organizing, and that we will also create tools that because we're a community of women trying to create tools and supportive technologies for each other, that there are certainly things that are being done in other parts of the world that may that we could adapt, you know. And some of the things, when we talk to women, some of the things that women are most interested in initially are even tools that allow us to have each other's backs and tell our stories more. You know, I thought that they would all be about warning systems and, you know, and there are a lot of places where if you press a button, nobody comes. So a warning system isn't always the thing. But knowing that you're not alone sometimes can be. And so these are, you know, ultimately it wouldn't be for me to make decisions because we're a community, but we will create meetups and conversations to facilitate women who can come together and collaborate on specific projects, because a lot of it, you know, a lot of the technology is not really that complicated. You know, it can be a little cumbersome to use because of language and IVR, but it's not that hard, you know. It's just a matter of creating the toolkits and creating the basic infrastructure. And if you're interested in helping with that, you know, that will get you to your goal that much faster. And hopefully it'll, you know, and hopefully we can find some commonality in our experiences, even though we're really fighting, in many ways, very different battles. You know, you know, we can support each other in that way too. I don't know if that helps answer your question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Yes.
Beatrice from the Cameroon. I'm so happy to be here. I understand that there is some non-government organization like your society that are looking at this kind of problem. So it's very important that you are starting by the Nigeria, but you have to notice that we from Cameroon, we are the neighbor of Nigeria. And let me tell you that the Boko Haram, they already came in Cameroon to kidnap some of Cameroonian or even some Chinese people or any black, white people that they are found in Cameroon. So it will be important for the startup. It's good to start with Nigeria. And then as your vision will be to be around the world, looking at other African countries, that this problem is really important. And for the Cameroonian team that came here in 2014, TechWomen, we have decided to take this opportunity to come back to Cameroon and build a community with the other emergency leader of 2013 to start building this kind of connectivity with all the women and ensure that we don't have any violence for women in our country, and also give to those women the possibility to speak, because this is the real problem. You can find a woman that has been abused or have and be violated by his husband or even someone else, and the woman cannot speak. The woman is afraid of other population or other person in the society. So if we put in place a sort of society or even a club, when that woman is free to come and tell the story, and we can record the story. And the importance for that is to have element. We need to have much of story as soon as possible, many kind of story. Then we can at least speak out this problem on the press, on the media, and many things will be changed. Only regarding the problem of the Nigeria that has been kidnapped. When the world, when the USA, the Europe, starting talking about this problem, the government of Nigeria start doing something. So actually, it's very important that the world are taking this problem seriously. I'm very happy of what you are doing. Thank you.
You know, all of us at TechWomen are really concerned about that issue, and I think some of you know we've done a lot of activist work, the American women who are part of TechWomen, because we care so much. More questions? Okay, here and then there. 1 second. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, really, for all of this. And being a female licensed amateur radio operator in my country is something really amazing. And being in this group, it was really something very important for me, because during the last war in Gaza, when we lost every kind of connection, my radio station was the only way that connected me to every place else. And have all these women from all the country, all the world supporting me was really something that helped me to stay. And sometimes I feel like I survived because I know that they were there looking for me, asking daily about me. So it's really important that we women be in groups, look for each other. It's really important. And the thing that I will do when I will go back, that I will try that there will be a female operator in each sector of Gaza Strip, that if anything happened in the next time, as Salwa mentioned, there will be a female that will can contact each woman in this city or to each other. Because, as we said in the radio operator, when every other communication fails, the radio is the only way that we can survive. So this is my mission when I go back, and it's something I really will work hard for to make it mention. And thank you very much and I would really love to participate in your program. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to have you. Absolutely. And radio, I mean, as so many of you know, is often the most trusted source in a community. It's often used for conflict resolution and many other things that we don't think about in the United States. I mean, the role of radio is very expanded. So it's really something that we want to work with a lot.
Yeah, there. It's fine. Do you want to stop? No. Let's take at least this one. And the only reason I'll stop us is because people have to take Caltrain to get home. But otherwise, I'd stay here all night.
I'd like to thank you very much for your passion in working with an initiative like this. And you spoke about the application development area. I would like to know if there is an existing unit of programmers or software developers that are working together, like brainstorming, to bring forward applications that support this initiative. And how is the collaboration done? How are they meeting in terms of discussing the system's requirements, the necessary tools that are required in building these applications? I really would like you to throw more light on that, and the link if somebody wants to join, because it's a great opportunity to contribute to something that others will benefit immensely from. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. That, yeah, and what you're saying really hits on an important challenge, because one of the things that we've discovered is that in many countries there are a lot of individual projects, but women creating them aren't sort of connected to each other, and so things could really increase exponentially, for those projects to be in one place and have women be able to share them and collaborate and go through a toolkit and a skills kit. And that's really what we're working towards, and maybe that's something you can help us build. What we've done in the past is we've been working with in Haiti, which has been a kind of a place where we've been figuring out how to do this, because there's sort of differences of language and training and also culture, open source culture. Like in Haiti, women are very well trained, but they didn't realize a lot of the tools they were using were open source. So we kept talking about open source. They're like, "What's that?" And that's what they were using, but they didn't have all of the sort of open source infrastructure. So these are just challenges, and they're one of the things that we started doing was creating online pre-recorded, because connectivity can be really bad. So having like online pre-recorded trainings for specific tools, and then like live Q&A, things like that, so that you can, so that everyone can have the same skills. And we've been collaborating mostly through hackathons via Skype. Video, so sometimes it's just screen. We want to be sort of more immersed in GitHub and make sure everyone who works with us really understands how to collaborate that way. And so one of the exciting things is we've definitely worked out a fair number of kinks, but we have a lot to figure out. And did I mention I'm a writer? Yeah, and so we really need some technical women from parts of the world that have challenges that I understand intellectually, but and have sort of created solutions around those that we need to integrate into what we do. That's kind of a long answer. I don't know if that helps, but I mean, you're at an exciting stage if you're interested in helping, because we need technical women to help sort of create that infrastructure just to make it so much easier and faster.
What's the link to join the
Well,
collaboration?
right now we've, how do we do that?
If you want to go back to that URL?
Yeah, we can go back to the URL.
We'll also have it just open on a laptop after this if you guys want to.
Yeah, and
there's a Google form, and you can just join the forum, and you can also visit Rachel's website after this.
Yeah.
And I'll make the whole slide deck with all the links in it available to you
Yeah.
after this, as well as the recording.
And just a word about the forum. It's pretty comprehensive about like what tools you know how to use. The only things required are like your name and email. So don't feel like you've got to answer a whole long form. And I think you can even add stuff to it later. I think they send you a link to your form. It's just a Google form. So, don't be intimidated by all the questions if you don't have time, you don't feel like answering them. But if you send name and email, we can start to have a conversation and I can connect to you. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rachel. I knew that Rachel's work would really resonate with all of you. It certainly does with me. It's very inspiring.